Very good evening to everybody once again, and welcome back to our live stream series. This is Christopher Daigen, forgetting who I am for a moment. Christopher Daigen coming to you from my home in KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday the 14th of September 2024. This is our live stream number 286, and it's the first live stream that we've had since the 6th of December last year. For those of you who haven't, I'm sure you all know this by now, but on the 8th of December I cut my finger, this finger on my right hand, very badly. I dropped a large hurricane lamp, a very thick glass hurricane lamp, into the pond outside when I was lighting it for a function, and I went to grab the hurricane lamp. I know that the pond is very deep, so I put my hand in very deep into the pond. Didn't realize that the hurricane lamp, thick glass, had broken in two and was floating in the water, and I shoved my hand straight into this very heavy glass, which cut to the bone. Fortunately, it went down the middle, across the middle of my finger, and not on the sides where the ligaments and tendons are placed, but I had a number of stitches, two layers. I didn't know that was possible, 2 layers of stitches, and I couldn't play for a couple of weeks. But I also realized, I decided it was apparent that maybe I just needed some time off, and things are slowly coming back into place, and we decided we miss you, our live stream audience, and I have the possibility with the equipment and the setup, the Vimeo platform, and the opportunity to be able to share these live streams still with you, an audience who are situated around the world. It would be a shame for us not to do this. So here we are, back again. Welcome back to Leon. Thank you for joining me again for tonight's session. And it's a beautiful, humid evening. It's a spring evening. There are frogs you will hear. There are bullfrogs. There's one that's situated right outside the music room. They've decided to make hay, apparently, in the swimming pool last night, which is situated right here, not in the bottom of the garden where they normally are. So you might hear the odd bit of creaking of not the painted reed frogs, which are that very delicate little frogs, but these are the bullfrogs, which are quite large and jumping around. Tonight's program I'm going to play then, a Saturday night, is our in-concert session, and I'm playing for you a program of music by J.S. Bach, a Sonata by Ludwig van Beethoven, and a Nocturne and a Scherzo by Frédéric Chopin. My intention, I will tell you a little bit about this later on, but my intention is to produce 3 of these sessions a month. One of my in-concert session, which is what I generally play each month on a regional tour, a classical program, another session specifically for the live stream, which will be of a lighter selection, a sort of Wednesday piano hour program at some point, and also a background session where I'm going to explain some of the music that I've been playing in that month in a little bit more detail. Until the 1st of October, I am going to keep these free of charge on our September platform. But from the 1st of October, I am asking everyone who would like to watch these to please contribute a monthly amount of 200 rand, South African rand, a month to support us and to pay for the opportunity to view those 3 streams. Some of them will be live and some of them will be pre-recorded. I realize there is a great intimacy and a great immediacy in the live streams, but it is, as has reminded us this evening, Leon and I have done rehearsals this week, and still a number of things have caught us up and taken us unawares. It's unbelievably complicated. I forget how complex it is. And of course, we now have to set up the whole studio from scratch for each session, which is just an added complication. Anyway, I'm going to start off with music by J.S. Bach. I'm going to tell you just a little bit. These are from his Preludes and Fugues, 48 Preludes and Fugues, 3 Preludes and Fugues from the first book of the Well-Tempered Clavier, 12 or 24 in each book. This is music that is really the basis of every pianist's study regime. Even Mozart, Beethoven, Mozart, Liszt, Chopin would have studied these pieces. A prelude being a free introduction, could be quite a regular piece, or it could be improvised, and the fugue being a very strictly monitored, strictly composed theme, a piece around a particular theme which you hear at the beginning of each fugue. I'm not going to say much more than that, but they're rather complex pieces. But in these last few months, since I stopped concertizing, it didn't mean I stopped practicing. I was able to revisit some of the basics of piano playing technique and music making and try and brush up my skills a little bit. And I thought these are such great pieces, it'll be great to bring. I've only played one or two of them to you in the live streams. So from book 1 of Bach's 48 Preludes and Fugues, I'm going to play Preludes and Fugues in C minor, C sharp minor, and A flat. Starting this evening's in-concert session, then 3 Preludes and Fugues from J.S. Bach's 48 Preludes and Fugues, Book 1, accompanied by the sound of the bullfrogs, and of course our dear old faithful. Look who's here. Someone running around, battling around on the floor, and we feel like I have an update. And here, of course, is little Lucy. Hello, little Lucy. I don't normally have allowed little Lucy and friends up into the Saturday concerts, but this is the first time in 9 months, and so we need to update everyone. Since the lockdown started, we have, when we started 4 years ago, we had 4 Dachshunds, and in the last 2 months, little Wendy Pop has passed on, and a year and a half ago, Frida Pop passed on, and about 3 years ago, Lulu passed on. So we just have little Lucy, and about a year and a bit ago, little Lucy had a spinal prolapse and can walk a little bit. She's learned with some extensive physiotherapy and rehabilitation to walk a little bit, but not terribly well, but she seems to be happy. Hey, aren't you, Luce? Yeah. Lucy always just seems to be happy and content. Little Lucy is here. So you're going to go in your basket now and roll around on the floor again, maybe, if you want to. That's the update on our little Dachshund family. We're down to 1 little Dachshund. Hey, Lucy, it's just you and I now. It's just the 2 of us at home. So I'm going to move on to a sonata by Ludwig van Beethoven, which I'd like to play for you this evening, which is rather, I think, a beautiful piece. It's one of my favorite of the Beethoven sonatas. I particularly like it because of its rather delicate edge. It's not particularly outlandish or strident. It has a very gentle nature to it, a very fluid lyricism, you might say. Having said that, there's some very sparkly dynamic outbursts in the second movement and a rather dramatic funeral march in the third movement. But on the whole, it's a very mellifluous piece, it might be the right word. Beethoven here is playing with a number of ideas about the balancing of movements, and so rather unusually starts with a theme and variations. It's a very beautiful Schubertian almost melody that he bases his variations on. After that, as I say, a sparkling scherzo, a joking, very darting, very stabbing you and punching you and poking you in the eye every now and again, just when you least expect it. The funeral march is one of the famous funeral marches that was also used in the procession of Queen Elizabeth II 2 years or so ago. It's one of those pieces that, along with the Chopin funeral march, which is generally played in all funeral processions. But this is the original version that Beethoven wrote as part of the sonata, Opus 26. And then the last movement is, again, this demonstration of how Beethoven is playing and exploring ideas about how to balance the movements and how to direct much of the energy and much of the focus of the drama of the 4 movements together towards the end. And in this particular case, he backs away from it somehow after the funeral march, I think, and composes a rather unusual movement of rippling passages, figurative passages up and down the keyboard. You'll see there's no real melody, there's no great tune. It just seems like the music perpetually runs on until it runs out completely, which is a unique way of doing things. As I say, I think it's a very beautiful piece. It has lovely moments. I've really enjoyed playing it in the last four months or so. And I hope you're going to enjoy it as part of this live stream session this evening. So this is the sonata in A flat major, opus 26 by Beethoven in 4 movements. Hope you enjoyed that Sonata Opus 26 by Ludwig van Beethoven. Rather, as I say, rather unusual, a slightly different piece of music. It has the outbursts and the surprise, but there's such a gentleness and exploratory nature about that music. It's one of his lesser played pieces, but one of my favorites. I think there's something quite special in that music. I'm going to go on to two pieces of music to end off this evening sessions by Frédéric Chopin. The first of which is one of his nocturnes. These are beautiful night music, accompanied on this rather steamy night by the bullfrogs in the background. I'm sure you can certainly hear them. A little loose is adding the odd little whine here and there, but thank goodness not while I'm playing. From the Chopin nocturnes, we all know the more familiar early nocturnes, like the first, or even those are all very youthful pieces from Chopin, Opus 9, and the Opus Posthumous, published after his death, but written very early in his life. And these pieces, each of those you can see, and I played them because you can see a very clear distinction between what is melody and what is accompaniment. There is interest in the accompaniment, but it's generally a background figure. Whereas the nocturne I'm going to play for you now is the very last nocturne that Chopin wrote. And you'll see how the style of the music has changed. There is not such a distinction between what is melody and what is accompaniment. There's more a combination. The accompaniment has much greater interest. And it's something that Chopin was greatly influenced by Bach's music. And that idea, as you heard in the Preludes and Fugues, with those multiple lines of voices, is something that comes back very prominently in Chopin's later compositions. And you'll hear it definitely in this piece. So at some point you might be thinking, well, this is a really great melody and lovely chords, but there's something very interesting going on in the bass that I'd like to listen to. And oh, there's something very interesting going on in the middle of the sandwich too. And this is this multi-layered counterpoint that we talk about in Chopin's music in the last style. And added to that, there's a certain resigned resignation, you might say, about this in this piece of music. This was really written in the last months of his life, and there's a certain acceptance, I think, of his fate. After that piece, which is completely contrasted, really one of Chopin's most inspired, driven, and determined, might be a good word, determined actually is a very good word for this piece, the Scherzo number 3. So as you heard in Beethoven's sonata, the Scherzo, the second movement, had a playfulness, a lightness, this sharp pointing bouncingness. Now in Chopin's situation, he wrote 4 scherzos as single large-scale works. Each of these are very dramatic and take this edge of the surprise and the edginess to an extreme drama, which is not just about being light and playful, but actually about the dance of life and death, you might say. In this particular piece, you hear a very driven idea, theme, which occurs twice during the music, which is contrasted by a very different style of music, which is centered around a hymn and with cascades of notes from the heavens. It's a very demanding piece of music, both for the listener and for the pianist, but it's a piece that I've come back to again and again because of its very succinct and very powerful nature. It has a very direct, challenging message to it somehow, I think. Particularly in the final coda, the final moments where those two themes are contrasted and finally resolved. So this is the Nocturne Opus 62 number 2 by Chopin, followed by the Scherzo number 3. quite a piece of music. I did warn you that ending this evening's in-concert session on the 14th of September, that was the Scherzo number 3, preceded by the Nocturne, opus 62, number 2. With a few additional notes of mine, changed along, little accidents here and there. That brings us to the end of this evening's first session for the first in the 9 months for our new season. As I said, we are going to be carrying on. If you are joining us, we're going to be carrying on with 3 sessions a month, some of which will be live, some of which will be recorded. Contrasted program, however, from October, you will be expected or asked to pay for them, to view them. You will find all these details on my website, musicrevival.co.za. And I would like to once again, of course, acknowledge a number of people who have supported me in this program from April 2020, who've donated very generously to assist with these cameras, the lights. It is quite a phenomenal professional setup that enables me to carry on doing these live streams, and it really was it not for their very generous support that these programs would not continue. And this is part of the reason that I'm doing this, is that I realize the support and the interest that I have received, and it would be a travesty to not actually continue with the live stream programs. I'm not traveling much these days, and I realize there are numerous people, not only around KZN, around South Africa, even internationally, who would enjoy and who really do wish to see these performances and see these live streams and engage with us on this level. So it's something that I'm determined to do, and Leon and I are going to keep calm and carry on. Thank you again for Leon on the technical support. I think I really forgot how stressful this is. We had a false start with the stream. I hope it's worked. I hope it's going out. If it's not, it'll be recorded. It's unbelievably complicated in the last minute, and then to have to play the performance and master all the details and the camera angles and where the orchids are going to sit so they're not coming out of my left ear, and that the bullfrogs and Lucy are not going to intrude. It's quite an ordeal. Thank you for coming along. Visit my website, please, for concerts around KZN if you're in this part, and look forward to seeing you for our next session, which will be on a Wednesday. It won't be this week, I don't think. It might be next Wednesday, but I will let you know, and it will be coming up shortly as we find our feet once again with this program. Look after yourselves and stay well.